Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Erin, and today I'm going to be continuing on with my series I decided to start, which is makeup and horror movies. How do these two go together? Well, I like makeup and I like watching horror movies, so that's why I'm putting them together in order to talk about some of my favorite horror movies while doing my makeup. So today I'm just going to be doing my makeup with some products, some new, some old, so it's almost a little bit of a first impression. I have an eyeshadow palette that I bought quite a while ago, but I have never used it because it was more like spring, summer colors, and I bought it in the fall, winter time. I'm also trying a new cream blush because I'm obsessed obsessed with cream blushes right now, and so I just got a new one from this brand, Kosas. I hope that's the way you say that, Kosas. And so I'm going to be trying out this cream blush and highlighter from in this little duo, okay? And as well as I'm trying a new eyeshadow primer base from JCat Beauty. So it's going to be sort of a first impressions with those products, as well as talking about some horror movies. So as you can probably tell from the title, I'm going to be talking about 10 horror franchises or series that are my personal favorites, okay? First, let me define what that means. So when I'm talking about a franchise or series, I'm talking about horror movies that have more than, from my definition, 3 movies in their franchise or series, and it has either a common villain or a common theme. So that's what I'm defining as a franchise or series, from my point of view of my favorite horror movie series or franchises. So I'm going to start at the bottom. While I'm doing my makeup, I will list the products in the description box. I'm not going to really be talking too much about the makeup products because I'm going to be talking about the scary movies, but I will be doing my makeup and showing you the products as I'm talking about these horror movies. So if you like something like this, horror and makeup mixed together, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe, and let's get started. Alright, so I've already primed the face and went in with my, prepped the face with all of my skincare. I always start with eyes first when I do my makeup, and that's going to be no different today. I am going to be using this palette from Moria. I don't know how to say it, but they're really nice. I have 2 other palettes from them which I've used. This is one I have not used yet, but I did buy quite a while ago, and it is just this beautiful, colorful, kind of a rainbow palette, but with like black and white, and then also some like very unique colors, not just traditional primary color rainbow palette. So I'm going to be using that. Okay, I'm going to prime my eyes first, and then I'm going to start in with my list of my favorite horror movie series. First, I want to mention some honorable mentions. Okay, 2 honorable mentions today, and then we'll get into the top 10. So kind of like it's 12, but these 2 are just honorable mentions. So the first honorable mention I have is Insidious. This series, Insidious, is a relatively modern new one, right? If you've seen it, it is about this family that is basically haunted. Well, at least the first one, about the family that is haunted by these demonic spirits that are just kind of following them around and haunting them. And so this series doesn't necessarily have like some of the other movies I'm going to show, like a common or one villain. It does, but oh my goodness, what is happening? What am I doing? Okay, that eyeshadow base was okay. Sorry, I just got really off track what I was saying. But it has, basically it's like a demon, an evil spirit that's haunting this family, and it kind of goes with that theme for all 3 of the movies. I think the 3rd one though is a different family, so it doesn't really continue with one family, but I know 1 and 2 are the same family. But it just basically is about these evil spirits, demons that are haunting, attacking this family. Really good series. I really like it. It really scared me. Some parts really did actually scare me, especially when that red-faced man was behind the main, the dad in the movie. That part actually really scared me. But I do like this series, and that's why it's an honorable mention. My second honorable mention is Children of the Corn. I don't hear hear a lot of people talk about, I mean, I know it's a well-known book and movie from Stephen King, but I don't hear a lot of people talk about it on YouTube that I watched horror movie commentary channels that I watch, or review channels that I watch. I don't hear a lot of people talk about this one, and I actually enjoy Children of the Corn. I love Stephen King. I think he's genius with all these ideas he comes up with, and so for me, this was a no-brainer. And I grew up on Children of the Corn too. Like, my mom, when I was younger, she would play that, and my older sisters as well. So it's one that I grew up with. Now, it is a series. There are multiple Children of the Corn. I think there's like 6 of them, plus a remake. And albeit most of the other movies in the series are pretty bad. Honestly, they're pretty bad. But I've seen all of the movies in this series, and plus I've seen the reboot or remake as well. Not reboot, remake as well. So it's one that I do go back to at least once a year. So for me, that's why it gets to be an honorable mention, because it is one. The first one is one I grew up on, and then I pursued watching the other ones myself, and I actually like them. I mean, past one, they're pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie, they're pretty terrible, but they're like the terrible that you can watch and somewhat enjoy. Some of them. So that's why that's on my honorable mention. Children of the Corn. All right, let's get into the list. I'm just gonna show you what color I just used before I continue on. I just went in red, pink look today. All right, now starting with my list, coming in at number 10 is the Saw series. This one comes in at number 10 for me because I do really enjoy the movies. I just feel like as we're starting to get, I think the story is smart. Number one, the story is smart. Let me start there. I like this ideal that there's a killer that is not personally getting his hands dirty, but he is orchestrating all of these killings. And Saw is more of a torture pornish movie. But I enjoy it. I think it's creative, it's cool, some of the kills are really cool. And that's why this one gets to be number 10 on my list. Reason it's not higher, it's just not personally my favorite type of horror movie to watch. I do enjoy them. I think that the story is pretty smart. A lot of the traps are really, really cool. We get some cool deaths and things like that. But it's just not my personal type of favorite. I more lean towards slashers or supernatural horror more than like the torture type movies. And that's just a personal preference. My least favorite, I guess I would have to say my least favorite type of drama, scary movies might be like invading the house type dramas. What are those called? House invasion, home invasion dramas. Why do I keep saying dramas? Home invasion horror movies, I think, are kind of my least favorite. And I think they're just bordering too much on reality for me that I don't like those as much. But there are 2 that I really love, which is Hush and You're Next. Those are really good home invasion movies. One I hate, like The Strangers, with a passion. Don't like it. Too much suspense for me. Too no, I can't deal with it. But let's get back on track. So Saw is coming in at number 10. Number 9 for me is going to be the Conjuring series. And if you see me looking over, I'm looking at my notes over here. But yes, number 9 is the Conjuring series. The Conjuring series is pretty more new, modern in the last, 5, 6, 7 years? I don't know. But I do like the Conjuring movies. I think they're really good. believe James Wan does them. And they're very good. They're scary. They're creative. And I think they add something new and fresh to the horror genre. The Conjuring movies are going to have, I think they only have 2. I guess that goes against my rules. Did I tell you my rules? They have to have at least 3 movies in the series. But The Conjuring 3 is coming out soon. So I decided to go ahead and put this on my list because I do really enjoy The Conjuring 1 and 2. And we do have a common theme with these, which is supernatural horror, demons, kind of spirits, evil spirits. attacking a family. So that's why I put The Conjuring on my list. I really do enjoy those movies. They're very good. And so that's why they get on my list. I think that if you're looking for good supernatural stories or horror with like demon or spirits that are attacking a family, this is a good one to check out. So if you haven't seen the Conjuring movies, definitely check those out. 1 and 2 I think are good, and I can't wait to say 3 this year. It's one of my most anticipated movies for this year. Alright, so that's number 9. I'm going to move on to number 8, which is the Candyman series. Okay, Candyman has 3 movies out, and they all center on this, I guess you could call him a ghost, monster, spirit of Candyman, and this legend that is keeping him alive, the people's fear, which is keeping him alive to kill. And you can summon him by saying his name, Candyman, 5 times while looking in the mirror. Now, Candyman, the first one, is really a good movie. Really good movie. I grew up watching it, and it's one of the few like horror icons that we have that is African American or black. One of the few black horror icons that we have. So I do enjoy this movie, and you can get some undertones and different messages from this movie as well. But also, it's just a really good, fun horror movie to enjoy. It's gory. It's got some scary moments. Tony Todd, who plays Candyman, plain awesome. I mean, he just does such a good job. His voice, oh my goodness, is so like deep but like scary and like mesmerizing all at the same time. My victim. So for me, Candyman is one that really is one of my all-time favorite series. Once you get into number 2, not as great. And that's what happens with a lot of horror movie sequels. Some sequels do a good job, but a lot of the times you start to see a decline in story quality, acting, and that just depends on, you know, who picked it up for the sequels and stuff like that. Or, you know, was the ideal just best to be a one type of movie. But Candyman does have 3 movies. I have to say the second and third one, not as good as the first one. But I still put this as number 8 on my list because Candyman is just such an iconic horror villain. He's one of the only black horror icons out there, and it's just a good concept and story. The original story comes from Clive Barker, and so it's really one that you should check out. If you've never seen Candyman, please check it out. Plus, this year, 2020, there is going to be a sort of reboot or remake of the Candyman series, so that is going to be super interesting and one of my most anticipated as well this year. So I'm coming in at number 8, Candyman. Alright, number 7. Number 7 is the Leprechaun franchise or series. Now, the Leprechaun movies, I have to say, they're not the best on this list. Matter of fact, they're probably, as far as quality and story and, you know, just the whole package, they probably should be at number 10. But the reason why they come at number 7 for me is just a nostalgia factor. I grew up watching these movies. The Leprechaun was one that me and my sisters, we just loved watching as kids. And I think as kids, you really don't see as much like the quality or the directing or the story. You just sort of see the villain and how it plays out. And for us, Leprechaun was just always a fun one. So Leprechaun was one that we just grew up watching. It was one that we could just have fun watching and laugh at while also being, you know, a scary movie. So for me, that's why that one comes in at number 7. Now, let's talk about this as a series as a whole. You know, even if over Candyman, it's not like the first Leprechaun versus the first Candyman. I would pick the Candyman as the better movie. But the reason why I put it over is because I do go back to watch these Leprechaun movies and binge watch them. And they're pretty bad. And they make me laugh. So that's why it's at number 7. I might switch those. This list might be switched. Candyman number 7, Leprechaun number 8. But for now, I'm putting Leprechaun at number 7. This list could change in the future. Who knows? But for now, it's at number 7 for me. And I think that nostalgia factor is one that's just a big, huge pull for me. It's just, I grew up watching it. And it has about, I think, 6 or 7 movies for the Leprechaun. Once you get up to like 5, 6, really bad. Even the first one's not that great, but it's just a good one to go back and watch and reminisce. It's got that nostalgia factor. I can't talk today. But I just like it as a whole. I think Warwick Davis, who plays the Leprechaun, just does an awesome job being funny and scary. Alright, sorry about that. Right now I'm using a loose eyeshadow from this brand, MPC. I think this stands for something. I forgot. But I just got these because they were having a sale on Friday the 13th. And they have one that has Jenny on it from part 2 of Friday the 13th. But anyways, let me get back on track. So I do like Warwick Davis in the Leprechaun movies. I think he's funny, and they're just a series that you can watch, and it's funny and scary at the same time. And it has some pretty cool deaths over it. It's an interesting concept. So yeah, that's why it's number 7. All right, number 6 for me is the Hellraiser series. Why is this one number 6? I just really enjoyed these. Again, this is one series I grew up with, watching with my family. Me and my sisters, we used to always watch Hellraiser, especially 1 and 2. And then as I got older, I started watching the rest of the series by myself. And it's one I enjoy. I think Pinhead and the Cenobites are just such an interesting concept as the villain in the movies, because they're just it's something different in a way. You know, they're like demons, but at the same time angels to some. And I think they're just very scary concept. And at the same time, it's very dark. The story itself is very dark. So for me, that's why this one comes at number 6. There are so many of these Hellraiser movies as well. There's like 10 of them, possibly, I think more than that. And I've seen most of them, which is why this one is going in at number 6, because some of them I don't remember as well. And of course, again, just like some of these other series, once we start getting into the sequels, the quality does start to decline as far as story, acting, etc., etc. And some of these Hellraiser movies weren't even written as Hellraiser movies at first. They were written as other movies, and then the script was written as another movie, and then, you know, Pinhead was just put into the movie, which sounds like a terrible idea, and it is a terrible idea. So some of these movies are really just not good, very good. But overall, as a series, especially 1 and 2 are some of my favorite horror movies. So that's why this one is at number 6 for me, as well as the fact that as a concept, I think it's very scary and unique to have these Cenobite type characters. This series is also based on a book by Clive Baker, just like Candyman.
Should be Clive Barker, not
So I think
Clive Baker.
is just a very unique person. His stories are very unique, and that's why this one is number 6 on the list. All right, we're moving on to number, let me look at my list, 5. Number 5 is Scream. Scream series is one of my favorites ever. It's so good. I think that the Scream series is just another one that is so unique. Created by Wes Craven. We have this sort of, what's the word? Like, not parody.
Like, not parody.
It's time to stop!
So with Scream, we have this sort of meta concept, meta story, where the movie is sort of self-aware of horror and horror tropes and how can I get killed in a horror movie while still being a horror movie. And I think Wes Craven really liked this sort of concept, because he did this also with New Nightmare in the Nightmare franchise. So I really like this concept of, I'm a horror movie, but I also know about horror movies. I know the rules of horror movies, and I watch horror movies, but I am a horror movie. So very like self-aware meta type of story, which I love. Sidney Prescott is a great final girl. Ghostface is a great horror movie icon. He's scary in the way that a real serial killer is scary, because it's not like Michael or Freddy or Jason, where they have this sort of supernatural factor to them. Like, no matter how many times you kill them, they're going to come back. With Ghostface, it's just real people that are seeking revenge or just want to kill. And it's scary in the way that it could really happen in real life. So that's why I really love Scream. The whole series is really good. Like, all of the Scream movies, unlike some of the other movies on this list, I would have to say that Screams 1 through 4 are pretty solid movies. You don't get too much, you know, the stories are pretty solid. The acting is pretty solid. And, you know, it doesn't really decline so much in quality like some of the other movies. I think it stays pretty solid. Some movies obviously are going to be better than others, and you know that you can rank them how you please. Obviously I have my favorites, but I think overall it's a pretty solid series that doesn't really too much decline in quality from 1 to 4. All of those are really good, and I can sit through all of them and enjoy all of them, whereas some of the other series that are on this list, like some of the entries in the franchise, are just, they're not very good, being honest. So for me, that's why Scream comes in at number 4. Comes in at number 5. Not my favorite of all time, but really good, and it made my top 5. There you go. For my base, I just use a tinted moisturizer. I'm pretty much staying at home because of the self-quarantine that we're doing right now. So there's not any really reason for me to do like a whole full solid face, and plus I just love this. It's really lightweight and nice. Alright, so I'm continuing on with this list. At number 4 we have Child's Play. Child's Play, again, grew up watching Child's Play. Love this series. Love Chucky. I think he's one of the best horror icons of modern times. He's just awesome. He's funny and not super scary. I mean, it is a doll, but it is scary. Dolls are creepy within themselves sometimes. Let's just be honest. So for me, it makes a good ideal to put a doll as, you know, a horror villain, a killer, a serial killer. And the concept of the Child Play, the original ones, is pretty cool. And dolls throughout history has been, you know, considered kind of creepy in a way. I mean, look at the Twilight Zone. There was an episode with a doll. Look at, you know, these scary movies with like puppets or things like that. So for me, I think the concept is pretty, you know, classic. It's classic. Dolls can be creepy, let's be honest. I think the stories in the movie, in the franchise, are all really pretty good. We're following Andy for a lot of the first 3 movies in the franchise. We are following Andy as he goes throughout his different journey trying to escape Chucky, or Charles Lee Ray, which is the serial killer that put his body into a doll. Okay, so for me, this is one I grew up watching. I've always loved. And then Chucky is just pretty, he's got some really great one-liners. He's funny, and at the same time it's scary because it's this doll that's just not going to stop until he kind of gets what he wants, which is to possess somebody and be kind of reborn into someone else's body using voodoo. So for me, Child's Play is really, really good series. There's a lot of the Child Play movies. There's so many of them. Plus, we just got a reboot to the series, which I actually enjoyed as well. It came with a new concept for Chucky. Excuse me. A new concept for Chucky. So for me, I liked that new concept of him being sort of like a robotic, controlling modern technology type of Chucky, and actually being friends with Andy first and then sort of going evil. So for me, I like that concept as well. And I just think that the Chucky franchise has a lot of good movies within it. And again, it has that nostalgia factor for me. I grew up watching these movies. I really enjoyed them. I have to say 1 through 3 probably hold the dearest part in my heart for watching them, just because I grew up watching those, and I just enjoy watching them and going back and watching them, you know, every year. So Child's Play is a number 4 for me. If you've not seen Child's Play, like, what are you doing? where have you been? Go watch it. It's a good series. Alright, so we're going to move on to the next one. I'm going to also move on to my powder, just to set under the eyes. Alright, I've already set the eyes and I've already gone in with some blush. This is from, again, Kosas. That is probably so wrong how I'm saying that. I just got this and I'm so excited for it. I've been waiting for this cream blush and it's gone on very pretty. The color is really nice. It has a nice little shine to the skin and it just pairs well. Very pretty. Alright, let's get to number 3 for my list, which is Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th is one I grew up with as well. Again, here's that nostalgia factor. I just really love this series. I really love Jason as our main villain throughout this series. I know his mom was in one, and also the first one, of course, the original, iconically. Mother was the killer. And also part 5 doesn't have killer, spoiler, if you haven't seen it. If you haven't seen the series, you need to see them. I've seen all in the series. Obviously, some are better than others, just like all of the rest of these series as well. But it's just a good series to watch and enjoy and just sort of get scared or laugh over. Some of them can be pretty funny. And it's just classic. It's one I grew up watching. It's one I really love to watch. Jason is iconic. A lot of the final girls in this series are pretty cool as well. Sorry, thirsty. All this talking. And I think Friday the 13th is just a classic. It's a classic series. It's one you can pop in and just enjoy, look at, binge watch this series, and just have fun with. And some of the, ones that are, worse story, again, as the sequels went on and on, some of the storylines got pretty bad. Acting, some of them got pretty bad. And it never had stellar acting to begin with. But as you start to go down and down and down, you do see a decline in quality for some of them. And then others are really good still. So it just depends on what you like. For example, I really like part 6. A lot. It ranks pretty high for me. So for me, this is just a classic series. Really, really good. Jason is scary. If you've not seen it, go ahead and check it out. It's definitely worth your while. It's a really good slasher. And that's why it ranks number 3 for me over all of the horror movie series. Okay, now we're moving into my top 2 horror movie series of all time. Moving to highlight, and also number 2 on my list, which is Halloween. Halloween series is number 2 on my list because, again, it's classic. I grew up with it, and it really is just a really scary, fun series. For me, Michael Myers is one of the more scary of these horror movie icons because of the way he just sort of stalks you. He's so silent, very deadly, and he doesn't have really any reason for doing this killing. Jason sort of have a reason because he's protecting his home. He doesn't want anyone on his property, and he's kind of like doing something to take revenge for his mother's death, whereas Michael doesn't really have a reason for why he just starts killing, at least in the original Halloween series. If we're talking about the original 1979 movie Halloween, you don't ever get a reason why is Michael doing this killing. He just gets up and kills his sister one day, escapes the mental home, and goes back to killing. So for me, that's pretty frightening. And that's one of the reasons why this one ranks so high, because it is one of the more scary, but also we get so many good entries into the series as well. Again, as we continue on with the sequels, you do start to see more of a decline with story, acting, directing, all of that stuff. Some of the sequels are pretty bad. Just putting it truthfully, some of the sequels are not that good, but overall, as a series, I really enjoy this series. I really enjoy Michael. I enjoy a lot of the final girls, especially Jamie Lee Curtis. From this series, she's, you know, she's strong, she's fighting for her life and trying to get away from Michael. So for me, I put this one as number 2 because it is just one of my favorite. I can pop this in every year, watch it, binge watch this series, and I've seen every movie in this series as well, and I just enjoy watching them. They're good. Michael's scary. The music, the soundtrack, oh my goodness, so freaking good. Like, the music is so good for this movie as well. It's just classic. It's just so classic. John Carpenter did such a good job with this movie on, you know, this Halloween. The first one would be the original. We did get a reboot or remake with Rob Zombie. Those I care less for. I just didn't really enjoy them as much. It's just not my kind of style that I really like with a horror movie. So those ones are okay, but they're just not up to par with what I like for the Halloween series. And then we got 2018 Halloween, which I actually really did enjoy most of that movie. Some things were kind of iffy for me. Maybe I'll do or talk about it or review it some other time to give more in detail, but I did enjoy it overall. So that's why Halloween comes in at number 2 for me, because the series is just classic, iconic, good, scary horror movie. And so that's why it comes in at number 2. Alright, I'm back. I went ahead and did my lips off camera because I feel like I can't talk about my number 1 pick while doing my lipstick. So I went ahead and did this ColourPop lippy stick in the color Love Life, and it's sort of this red color with, and I added some of this just lip gloss on top of that. I got it from the beauty supply store, NY Beauty holographic lip gloss. It's not like this glittery, pretty, lightly pigmented gloss. Okay, so, and I also went under and did a little bit of color on the lower lash line with just some, this Wet n Wild multi-stick, which is this kind of pinky color, since I did pink on the, pink, red, purple on the eyes. And then I will go ahead and do my eyebrows now while I talk about my number 1 pick for favorite horror movie franchises or series, which is Nightmare on Elm Street. Nightmare on Elm Street is definitely number 1 for me because of Freddy. Freddy is just my favorite horror movie icon of all time. He's just so, he's scary and funny at the same time, but it has a good scary concept as well. I just love Freddy overall. And in the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, again, just like a lot of these movies on this list, as we start to get into the sequels, some of them did decline, but not all of them declined in quality and story. Like part 3 is really good. It's one of my favorites. I like part 2 as well. And I also really enjoy New Nightmare. 4, 5, and 6 are not as good, but I still enjoy. I can still watch them and enjoy them. 6 a little bit less than the other 2, but 4 and 5 I can still watch and enjoy them. So for me, this one ranks number 1 for me because of Freddy. I just love him. I just do. He's just so incredibly well fleshed out as a villain, and really scary because it's one of those villains that you can't really catch. He's killing people in their dreams. How can you prove that there's someone, a serial killer, trying to kill you in your dreams? It's nearly impossible, which makes it even more scary. Again, this also has a nostalgia factor for me because I grew up watching these movies. Always remember watching these with my older sisters, my mom, and my younger sisters growing up. So for me, this one is just one that has always stuck with me. Now, it used to be that Friday the 13th, when I was younger, was my favorite, but as I've gotten older, Nightmare on Elm Street has really nudged that out, as well as Halloween. I just really love Nightmare on Elm Street, the series, and Freddy as a whole. There is a remake that came out, I want to say 2010. That one I liked a little bit less than the original, but it was still pretty good to me. I think it was okay. I don't think it was like the worst within like the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, but definitely I do enjoy the original. Number 1, 2, and 3 a little bit more, the most overall. I could also do a Nightmare on Elm Street ranking someday, but as far as horror movie franchises, that one is my number 1. And it just nudges every other series out of the way because of the concepts. The kills are awesome because you're in this dream world. You can get these unique kills. Freddy is scary, but also he has some really great funny one-liners. and some just really interesting moments where he can sort of create all of these different scary dream sequences and really mess with the people he's trying to kill. He really kind of tortures them psychologically, as well as being just really sick with the kills as well. So for me, that's why Nightmare on Elm Street ranks as number 1 of all time for my favorite horror movie series, franchises overall. So I hope you liked this list. Hopefully you found something in common with this list. If you want to tell me your favorite horror movie series top 10 down in the comments, I would really like to know. Alright, I just put my setting spray on. This is the final look. Really pretty. I really like this cream blush. I know I'm going to get a lot of use out of this. The eyeshadow palette was really nice pigmented, very beautiful, and the eyeshadow base, pretty good so far. I'll have to test this one out more. But do you agree with my list? Did you enjoy watching this video? What would be your list of favorite horror movies, series, or franchises? Please list them down below. Now, you might be wondering where some series are. I might not have included them because I probably haven't seen them, or it could be that I haven't seen some of the movies within the franchise. For example, I was thinking of putting movies like It or The Shining, but those ones, I don't know if I would consider them series, even though they have multiple movies within the sort of story. But I don't know if I would consider those franchises. I'm not sure. But I do really enjoy those movies. For example, I was also thinking of including The Exorcist, but I've only seen 2 of the movies from the Exorcist series, so I didn't want to put that into my list. As well as like Poltergeist, that's another one I was thinking of putting, but I haven't seen all of those either, so I didn't put that in the list as well. Did I miss any movie series that are your favorite? Please list them down below. I might do another one of these videos because I'm pretty sure I've missed so many franchises and series, but those are just the ones I thought of today. For sure, there are so many more franchises and series that have a lot of great movies, so there might be a part 2 to this. Or if you want to remind me of some movies out in the comments, I would be happy to check some out that maybe I haven't seen, as well as doing a part 2 and adding in some more movies. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.